All right, we're just gonna hop in and get started. So good afternoon, everyone. So today we have a info session on our online summer programs. So my name's Sarah Tamborski, and I'm director here at the center. And I'm joined with Sarah Coleman, Ciara Nally, and Katie Trainor. So if you have not joined any of our sessions before, just a little bit about who we are. So we're CHAT, which is Communication, Health, Advocacy, and Therapy. We are a nonprofit speech clinic located around the Chicagoland area. And we're really dedicated to providing services for those who have few, if any, other options. And we're also are really excited about our summer program. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon. So here is our agenda for this afternoon. What we are going to do is kind of go over the structure of what program is. We will go through each of the programs that we're offering this summer, give you a little detail about what the classes look like and what they will work on, and then go over some logistics and then answer any questions. If while we are presenting you have any questions that come to mind, feel free to type them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to those at the end. So to get started, some general structures. A lot of our programs follow kind of the same format, which makes it nice and easy. So all of the programs this summer are 4 days a week. So they're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and are 90 minutes each day. There is an exception of our social program is only 60 minutes, so we'll get into that. And all of the classes have a really nice small ratio. So for every 4 students, there's going to be 1 speech language pathologist. Sometimes that's even a smaller ratio. And in addition, we have a classroom aide. These are very usually excited undergraduate students that are looking to get into the field of speech language pathology. And so they volunteer their time to help us in our classrooms and also learn more about our field. The general agenda is pretty similar for each class. So we're gonna have a get together at the beginning. We're gonna go over kind of our to-dos. Then we're gonna break up into small groups or stations. We can still do this online, which we're very excited about. After the small groups and stations are done, we'll come back together, do some large group activities. We may break up into some small groups again, kind of depends on the day in the class and what we're working on. But we will come all together at the end, kind of review and assign homework. And so that's kind of the general way each day is going to look. There also is a weekly parent meeting for all of our classes. So this is a once a week meeting for 15 minutes or so, either before or after classes. Everyone kind of gets assigned, so you might be every Tuesday after class or something, to talk with your clinician, discuss how class is going, ask any questions, review maybe any challenges you're facing with homework or things, and really just have that time with the clinician. Obviously, if you have other questions that come up on other days and stuff, there's going to be open communication, but it's always nice to have that set time in your schedule that you know you're going to have some time with our staff, and we find that very valuable. So I'm going to give Sarah the stage to start off talking about our language to literacy program.
Okay, hello everyone. So language to literacy phase 1 is targeted in 2 different age groups, so 6 to 9 and 10 to 12. And students that would be a good fit for this language to literacy phase 1 would be students that may already be receiving special education services or speech and language services at school. This might include students who are struggling with their receptive and expressive language skills, for example, answering questions, understanding and using vocabulary, following different types of directions. Students who have difficulty attending to and paying attention to kind of important information, being able to pick out that key information. Students who have difficulty spelling and decoding words. And again, that's just kind of some of the skills. If you do have something else, I'm sure you can bring it up to us, or you can bring it up to you know, a clinician who might be supporting you with that sort of intake process and knowing kind of would they be a good fit. So the skills that are targeted within the program are attention and listening, different memory strategies, phonological awareness skills, so understanding the sound structure of language, oral language skills, the comprehension strategies that we'll review, and self-advocacy strategies. So that would just look like skills and strategies to be able to speak up for your needs and ask for help in different ways and use different resources. So the structure is going to look somewhat similar to some of our other programs, but I'll just, again, go into language to literacy. So every cycle is 3 days. And for each cycle, there is a new book, and they're really wonderful, very fun stories. I'm obsessed with them. And they do target a set of very specific strategies each cycle. And again, those cycles and those strategies will build on each other. So that's really important that students are attending and learning those skills so that they can keep growing their knowledge and everything is building on the others. So in those 3 set of days within a cycle, there is an A day, which focuses on attention and listening skills. So we'll review a strategy, we'll practice use, we'll break the rules, talk about how to use them and kind of target all of those skills. The B day is for that phonological awareness target. So again, understanding the sound structure of language, that's going to help with spelling, that's going to help with decoding. And that C day is for that comprehension and expression of language. So involving answering those questions, following those directions, and that's overall that cycle and structure of the language literacy phase 1.
Sarah, I'm going to pull up a video that we can show that kind of demonstrates some of the phonological awareness skills. Can you maybe describe a little bit about phonological awareness? Because I think that's a phrase that's less familiar with a lot of people.
Absolutely. So phonological awareness is definitely a very, very, very important kind of building block skill to literacy. And that's something that we focus on and target a lot in language to literacy. And it's often a skill that maybe is not targeted as much in school after certain ages. So it is really essential that we get in there and we really support that skill so it's so solid. So it's just understanding that the words that we use have a sound structure. So knowing a word like cat is going to have 3 different sounds. K, a, t. So knowing that those are all different sounds helps a student be able to understand that they can spell it or that they can read it in a certain way. So you'll see a little clip of these skills in use, and not only phonological awareness skills, you're going to see a ton of different skills in use, which I'll kind of talk about after the video real quick.
It's your turn. What's this?
Cave.
Ooh, if we don't know what the word is, what button can you click on?
Den. Wait, what? Is this one?
Ooh, so what's the word? What word did you hear?
N?
Ooh, so sometimes if I don't hear it, I might ask, can you repeat?
Repeat.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say. Can you repeat? Say it with me. Repeat.
Repeat.
Repeat. So watch, I'll have the computer repeat it for us.
Den.
The word is
Den.
den.
Oh.
Your turn, Corey.
No,
You pick the word.
No, I'm going here. No.
The bear lives in the den. Nice work.
So this video is very cute, obviously. So this is one of our clinicians working with a student, and this is not program, but it is a perfect example of some of the skills that we would target in program. And this activity would be something we might look at on a B day where we're targeting phonological awareness skills. So you can see, obviously they're listening for the sounds to be able to match the appropriate word, but even when he's, using the word repeat, he misses a syllable. And so that was kind of a helpful sort of target of knowing, is it repeat, and kind of working on that syllable structure, not only the sound structure. And again, the target was phonological awareness here, but you can see that there are plenty of other strategies being used, advocating, if you miss something, you need to ask to repeat. That sound letter correspondence, being able to match, we heard that first sound, it wasn't men, it was den. So knowing that that's going to match that word, using different strategies such as like clicking on the button, that's a resource that's going to help you. So a lot of different things can be targeted in there. And then also, you can see that even the platform was a little challenging. Something was missed, but in a way that kind of provided the perfect teaching moment. So yes, we'll have different types of challenges than we might have in person via teletherapy, but it'll create a lot of really, really nice opportunities to use those advocacy skills and to kind of be able to carry over that to the classroom and to in person, you know, in the future as well, which is really nice to see. So cute video.
Absolutely. And so next we're going to go into Lee, which is going to be very similar in many ways. So Ciara, why don't you take over here?
Yeah, sure. So LEAP is very similar in terms of a lot of the goals as well as the structure, but this is really the foundational level class. So historically it's been for 3 to 5, and so right this year we're doing it more for the rising kindergartners, and that's just because via teletherapy, you know, we want a little bit more of that sitting and attention to be kind of formed, and more of the target towards getting them prepped for a new school year, however that might be implemented via online or in person. So who would be a good fit? Well, I think really anybody who's 4 to 6, but really those rising kindergartners, so people who are starting kindergarten in the next school year, people who are, or kiddos who are demonstrating difficulty with pre-literacy skills like rhyming or print awareness, who may be struggling to work on that sound letter correspondence, recognizing their letter. If there's kiddos within this age range who are struggling with their name, that might be an indicator that, you know, they might need some support with these pre-literacy skills that we'll be focusing on. And then really anybody who wants to get a head start. Something that's unique that we're doing this year because of this transition to online learning is we're actually creating a whole new cycle that's going to be working on computer literacy. And so I think really that any student who may be new to an online learning platform could really benefit from at least that week, if not the whole entire curriculum, just to get used to what it's like to learning online, what it's like to learning online with a group, what it's like to navigate a computer, and what it's like just to see the books and the resources. And then it's also kind of helping those parents who may not have done online learning, and this is kind of a scaffold for them as well. So the skills targeted are, again, almost identical to LLP. We're working on that attention, listening, and memory. I think that this is really maybe the primary goal that we work on all the time with our littles. Just they're learning how to attend sometimes for the first time, and they're learning really what listening is, and for the first time talking and being metacognitive about why it's important to listen and how to listen and what to listen for. And then working on some of those memory skills. We're again going to be working on phonological awareness, and Sarah did an amazing job of kind of summing up what that is. We're working on expressive and receptive language. So we're going to be teaching them vocabulary, really modeling how to put those in sentences. We have activities where they'll get to try and make, you know, sentences with their vocab words. Comprehension, we have some really fun games like Jeopardy, or some interactive games online where we're going to be answering questions about our books, working on print awareness. Maybe we'll even try and get them to write online, which would be really fun. And then self-advocacy, which is one of my favorite things to work on. So not only just asking for help, but what kind of help do you need and how to ask for that help. So I could, you know, ask for repetition until the sky is blue and still not understand. So I might need you to show me, I might need you to tell me in a different way. And so really kind of honing that in, and that's going to be so essential really in this new world of online learning for, you know, what happens when the screen shuts off, or what happens when the mouse isn't working? Who do I go to? You know, they can't go to the teacher because I can't hear or see them. So that's when they need to know who to go to, their parent, their caregiver, whoever's in the home, or us. So some really essential skills. The weekly structure is the same as what Sarah was discussing. We have A days, B days, and C days with those different targets. And then we have different weeks for each cycle, or different books for each cycle, and they're kind of themed more for those 4 to 6 age groups. So we've got some vehicles, we've got farm, we've got dinosaurs, some really fun, engaging themes. And then again, like I already mentioned, we have that new first unit that's just on computer literacy that can be taken either just as that week segment or as part of the whole curriculum.
Ciara, do you want to
yeah, I can kind of share. Yeah, I'll share not the first book because we have a new computer literacy book, but I'll share the second cycle book. So here's a little snippet of We All Go Traveling By. We have it in PDF, but we also have videos of it that we can watch. So there's going to be a lot of multimodal instruction of the book, which is really fun. You can see that there's these fun sound effects, and what I love about online is that, you know, there's a lot of resources that you can hear. So for the train, we might hear, and then we're gonna have fun, you know, identifying the sound and what to listen for. We might hear and be able to ask, oh, what did you hear? What is it? It's a vehicle. Let's see when it comes up. When we're working on comprehension, we can annotate and draw right on the screen. Oh, what is pink? Oh, it's the bike. And then we can talk about that. We can try and identify, here's the blue train. What sound does the train make? Play our sound. And we can really also, I love this book because, again, it's multimodal, so we can have kind of signs and movements that go around with all of our sounds. So really very engaging material that is going to help just build those foundations.
Yeah, and actually I think you said a really interesting point too about care about like kind of a movement piece, and that is something we're well aware of, especially with the littles. And so do you want to speak on that just a little?
Yeah, so I've been doing teletherapy, just for you guys, for some backgrounds. I've been doing teletherapy for 3 years, and so have a lot of experience with wiggly bodies. And so one of the best ways to kind of just promote that engagement is to allow for gross motor breaks, to allow for game breaks or discussion breaks. That's what new we've implemented to transferring these programs to online is we have scheduled movement breaks. So I love using Go Noodle. There's great language concepts in those songs that are promoting gross motor activities. I also love playing Simon Says, so we can work on comprehension and vocabulary while doing gross motor movements. So we have we're being very proactive and allowing for those breaks, but then also recognizing that that's kind of one of the goals of this program is helping our kids sit and attend and watch. And so we're expecting it to be messy, and it's okay. And really at that age frame too, you know, we're kind of still kinesthetic learners. And so just kind of supporting the parent with, oh no, this moving is okay. You know, they're still attending, this movement is okay. Or, oh, this movement is distracting, it's because of the environment. You know, that's kind of one of the ways that we can help you guys be ready too for the school year, right? Let's see how they're learning and how they're attending. And, you know, we have pretty great therapists that will be able to support each family individually.
Yes. All right, next is something I'm very excited about. I know Katie is, and it's our newest program. So this is going to be the first time we are going to be offering this. And so let me get back to our presentation here. And Katie, can you tell us about our executive function program?
Absolutely. So our executive function program is going to be geared towards kids from 10 to 18. Depending on those kids that we have interested, we'll probably group them a little closer to some same age peers to make sure that all of their maturity levels and social interactions are appropriate as well. Kids that would be a good fit for this one are going to be any kids that are struggling with staying focused and attending to things, kids that are struggling with their planning and organization. You know, with online learning, that's a skill that's needed more now than ever, as kids are being asked to be a little more independent in their schoolwork and don't have their teachers with them for as many hours each day. Some other behaviors that you might see that would make them a good fit for the executive function program is our kids that appear to act without thinking. They're just really impulsive and appear to do those things without giving any thought to it. Also kids that might have difficulty switching back and forth between tasks or things in their environment, that if something distracts them, they have a really hard time coming back to that initial homework or whatever they were working on. So that flexibility may be an issue that we're seeing with those kids. So the skills targeted are going to be kind of a wide variety of the executive function skills, including building routines, working on your time management, doing a lot of self-awareness and reflection so that we are building our kids as kind of their own executive function monitors, and not having the strategies and things imposed by the teachers, because then once we go away, those strategies and things that we put in place kind of fall by the wayside. So when we're building that self-awareness and reflection, then they can take more ownership over what they need. We'll also be working on some goal setting, task planning and execution, organization of both materials and spaces. This is where, you know, we'll see a lot of kids that have messy rooms, and that now their lockers and things have exploded probably all over your house instead of being more contained as a messy locker. So getting some help with that. And then also looking at some technology that's out there and other compensatory strategies, knowing that we're not going to be able to improve all of their executive functions in our 20 days. It does take a lot of practice. So giving you some things that you can kind of put in place in the meantime to help them kind of get through as we continue to work on developing these skills. So this weekly structure is very similar to our other programs in that it's 4 days a week. We're going to spend the first 3 days of specific skill instruction and practice with a variety of activities and lessons, and have our 4th day each week that is kind of a wrap up and generalization, where we'll participate in activities that require the use of several of the skills that we've worked on, because with our executive functions, we're never really doing anything in isolation. They all kind of work together, and so we need to make sure that we can use them all together and let that get that practice in that way.
Okay. Before I move on to the next slide, Katie, can you say real quick a little bit about kind of why SLPs are a really good person to be working on executive function skills?
Yeah, so executive functions have kind of initially started with like our psychologists and neuropsychologists, because they are all found in the brain and it's kind of that brain-based skill. The thing through more research that they've kind of seen is that language does play a really important role in the use of executive functions, and all of the language skills like sequencing and self-talk that we use all the time getting things done really rely on those strong language skills to facilitate them. So as SLPs and having that specialty in language, we can help make sure that there's the strong foundation of those language skills so that kids can then interact in their environment and be able to use those executive functions to the best of their ability, because they have the underlying language skills that they need. So this is kind of the breakdown. Something new that we're doing with our executive function program is not only offering it as a whole 20-day class like our other programs, but if people are interested, and Sarah will get into the more logistical details at the end, but we are offering that families can just do a week or those 4 days of the specific targets for that week. So the first week of executive function program is going to be working on building foundational skills like routines and time management. The second week is going to work on goal setting and visualization, including SMART goals. Our third week is going to work on planning and task execution. So we're breaking things down into smaller, more manageable pieces. And then our week 4 is going to work on that organization of materials and spaces. We'll bring back some of that visualization and some of the verbal strategies to make sure that everything has its place. And then that week 5 is really going to focus on the compensatory strategies and carryover, including some additional parent training so that you can maintain these skills at home and kind of generalize to some specific areas of weakness that you're seeing at home. So there is the option to just pop in for one of these weeks if you notice that your kids have a specific difficulty with one of these areas.
Great. And Katie, what would you like us to show first?
Let's look at the time robbers visual. So this is just a visual, some examples as we haven't run this program before. I don't have any nice videos with any kids, so just kind of a couple of visual examples of some of the types of things that we'll be working through. So one with time management is being able to manage our time robbers and identify what is distracting our kids, and then thinking of solutions of how we can avoid those from being a problem. So if we are consistently noticing that I'm having a hard time focusing because I'm always hungry, well then I can know that, okay, before I start my homework or before I start this certain task, I should go and grab a snack, because then I've avoided that time robber of my body just distracting me because I'm hungry. So looking through some of these can be really helpful to keep our kids on track. The other thing, as an example for one of our time management activities, is just using lots of other visuals and tables. So Sarah, you want to go to the next slide? That's going to be one of the activities that we do, is estimating our time when it comes to our time management. So if we have a certain task and we want to estimate how long we think it's going to take us and what our check-in point should be halfway through, and then comparing that to the actual time it takes us to complete something, and then building that awareness of, is our time estimates significantly over or under, so we can kind of see how we need to adjust going forward. That if I consistently underestimate how long something's going to take, then I think I can get all my homework done in 20 minutes, and it's really going to take a lot longer. So we're building that awareness of how long things actually take so we can be more accurate in our estimates, and then also predicting what those distractions and ways to avoid them might be so that we can stay on task throughout the completion of that assignment.
Wonderful. Okay, and so then we're going to go on into our last program that we're going to discuss before we go into some of the more logistics. And Katie is also going to share about that as well. So let me pull this up for you.
So our modified social communication program is geared towards kids that are 5 to 18 years of age. The people that would be a good fit for this program are going to be our children with limited verbal or cognitive impairments that struggle to participate in interactions with peers or caregivers. It may also include younger students with more emotional or behavioral disabilities. We kind of took our social communication program that we've run previously and slowed the pace down, altered some of the targets to be a little more simplistic for our kids that just need some work on their foundational communication and social interaction skills. So it is going to target those functional communication skills like requesting and protesting and answering questions, as well as regulation skills related to emotions and staying calm, and then cooperation skills like turn taking and being a good winner or loser, things that can be used with peers, as we know that our kids with limited verbal skills or cognitive impairments really struggle in that peer-to-peer interaction, and a lot of times we as the adults are the ones facilitating a lot of those interactions and helping to bridge the gap, but wanting our kids to develop those skills so they can have more independent peer-to-peer interactions. So there's also 4 days a week for this program. The communication skills and the regulation cooperation skills are kind of varied throughout the program, so there's no clear like A, B, every other day. Skills alternate. It really depends on what the specific target is for that day, but there's a variety of those throughout the program. So we do have a video that we can show of one of our wonderful clinicians that is doing asynchronous, so kind of a recorded video for some of her students. She does use a core communication board in the video, as it is for our students that are mentally verbal and maybe using that as their mode of communication. And then this is about the communicative intent of requesting and asking for more. So go ahead and play that.
Hi guys, it's Miss Bridget. I am one of the speech therapists at Esperanza. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy at home and keeping yourselves busy with TV and movies and books and games. Today we are going to read a book focusing on the core word more. We're going to work on asking for more. So let's take a look at our book. All right, our word of the week is more. So when we are asking someone for something, we can say, I want more. All right, let's get started. We are going to make a pizza with our book today. It says, what do you want on your pizza? Maybe you want more crust. If you want extra crust on your pizza, you can say, I want more. Ooh, I like a lot of pepperoni on my pizza, so I can say, I want more pepperoni on my pizza. I want more pepperoni. Ooh, if you like sausage, you can say, I want more sausage on my pizza. I want more on my pizza. Some people like olives. I don't like a lot of olives on my pizza, but if you like them, you can say, I want more olives on my pizza. I want more on top of my pizza.
So in addition to the book, there's a game activity.
All right, I think I am.
So really
I think I'm finished with the sauce. Let's go on to the cheese. Ooh, we have mozzarella, fresh cheese, cheddar, and grated cheese. I think I'm gonna put shredded mozzarella on my pizza. Okay, so I'll do 1, 2, 3 helpings of cheese. Does that look like enough cheese? I think I need more. Let's see. I think I need way more cheese on my pizza. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, so as you can see, not only have they made books interactive for that population, but also have games that are fun and engaging that reinforce the same concepts. So that's the kinds of activities that they'll be doing in that social communication program.
Very good. All right, so as promised, we're going to get now into some of the more logistics about program, and then when that's done, we will kind of open it up to some of the questions that we've received and any questions you may still have. So for this summer, some dates and times. So we are going to be holding program July 6th to August 6th. As you mentioned, class is going to be 4 days a week, so it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and each class will be 90 minutes, with the exception of social being only 60. We don't have the specific times for each group because we are going to be grouping kids based on their abilities and kind of what people are available to do. So as we get into the process, we will then kind of get ideas of when you guys are available and then kind of assign groups of people to different times. Typically what we've done in the past is we'll have kind of around a 9 a.m., an 11, and a 3. So we'll probably have the same kind of idea of a couple different slots throughout the day. So to work around people's schedules. So an important part of program is evaluation. So prior to starting our program, we do conduct speech and language evaluations. We have a very specific battery of testing that we do for each program, and depending on which program that you're going to do. We do a very specific protocol because at the end of program, we usually do post-testing. So specifically for LLP, LEAP, and the executive function class, we're going to be post-testing, and even for social, we'll do some post kind of questionnaires, so it'll be a little different. And that's because at the end, when program's all over, we like to do some comparison. So what were the results before program? What were the results after? So we can really analyze where did we see growth. And in addition, in that report, we're going to be able to analyze what were the strategies in class that were really useful for this kiddo, and what helped them be successful, because that's really what it's about. And so we find that these reports can be wonderful tools to share with your school staff when you go back to school in the fall, because it'll give them a good idea of like, here's what they did over the summer, here's all the strategies that they found useful. And we just find it's a great advocacy tool to help get resources in your school if it's something that you're looking to get. The evaluations allow us to also just get an idea for grouping. So if we do evaluations before a program, we're going to get an idea for the different kiddos, where their skill sets are, so that we can try to group people in the most appropriate groups that we can. And this year, it's incredibly important because it's also going to give us an idea to assess computer skills before program begins. So it'll help us determine if there's any specific training that we need to do just before class starts, so that way we know there's always going to be some tech issues that arise, but to try to make that as minimal of a barrier as possible. In general, our evaluations are 90 minutes long, and they do involve some parent information in the beginning. The most part, it is the child doing the tasks as independently as possible. But it's really to give us a baseline of their skills. In regards to technology, as I kind of mentioned, so it is all online this year, and we really don't want technology to be a barrier, but we do want to kind of let you know what, is kind of ideal, what we'd love to have, but don't feel like if you don't have the ideal that is insufficient by any means. We are happy to do these other items, and we just kind of wanted to let you know kind of our stance. So having a designated laptop or desktop is kind of the ideal situation. If you have some accessories like Sarah's lovely microphone and headset that she's modeling, that can be really useful just for listening and focusing and making sure you're clear. As Ciara mentioned, having a mouse, especially if we're going to have some interactive things, so the kiddo is able to click in things or draw on the screen, that can be helpful. And having, a designated quiet environment that's no distractions. That's the dream. We realize though that that's not always the real life situations. So kind of our next here was a tablet is a great device to use. I think tablets become an even better option for participating if you have a stand to put the tablet in, just because otherwise sometimes they're falling over and we're getting kind of weird angles, and it doesn't have to be a fancy stand. I know a lot of cheap options, or even if I've seen some constructed out of cardboard, or you just have something that's able to bring some stability. That's really all we're looking for. Likewise, having a headphones, but just using the built-in speaker that's in the computer or the tablet is a great option. And maybe you don't have a room that is your own separate room for teletherapy, but you just have a little corner that you can designate to your designated spot. That can just be really helpful in kind of building that routine for class. And good enough. This is definitely fine. We don't want you to feel like you can't do program. If this is kind of the level you're at, we're happy to work with you. And like I said, we really don't want it to be a barrier. We put Chromebooks here just because we've had a little bit more issues with regards to giving remote control. With Chromebooks, that's not to say that it never works. They just are a little bit more fickle. And so it's still a great option to participate in program. We just have noticed there's more glitches sometimes. Likewise, the built-in microphone and speaker is fine, it's even what I'm doing today. So that's by no means a bad option. And then we recognize it's okay if there's siblings and other items and noises in the house. It's a reality. And so, you know, ideally we want to keep those distractions as minimal as possible, but we recognize that, you know, everyone is a human and they live in a loud and noisy environment, especially with kids around. So that's something that we just want to say, you know, these are the nice things to have, but don't feel like it should stop you. Regarding costs, most people that participate in our programs historically have done through their insurance. So we are in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, and Medicaid insurances. And there is a private pay rate for sessions at $130 a day. But again, as we mentioned, we are a nonprofit. We really don't want to put up barriers to access. And so please, if cost is a concern, fill out our scholarship form. We really try to make this program accessible to anyone who really wants it. Please just, you know, take the time and you can ask us. You can email us at info@chatwithus.org if you need access, or feel free to call. We'll share some ways to access our information. The scholarship form is even available on our website. So we really don't want cost to be a barrier. So just know that that is a highly encouraged option. There is a registration fee to join the program, which is $100. That is not technically covered by insurance, but again, if that is a barrier, please fill out the scholarship, and that could be something that can be possibly waived. As Katie mentioned, we are kind of doing this special with executive function and being able to sign up just for 1 week. And so we kind of have a special cost structure for that, and that's an option to do a private pay, $250 a week. Or you can kind of combine if you were maybe doing 2 weeks. And so that is an option. Again, scholarship can be available for that as well. That if you are just doing a single week though, that cannot go through your insurance, just because we need to have a certain amount of treatment plan and length of time when we're billing insurance. And so doing a week doesn't fulfill those insurance requirements, which is why we can't use insurance if you're doing the shorter amount of time. But like I said, please reach out to us. We really don't want to put up barriers to services. And so we're happy to work with every family. And so general logistics. So if you're interested in wanting to do program, this is kind of the steps to get started. So if you go to chatwithus.com/survey, that's our intake form. Asks just some general information, you know, address and all that good stuff. Asks for your insurance information if you have it. It asks if you need a scholarship form. It allows you to say which program that you're interested in doing. And that goes into our electronic medical record system. So once we get that completed intake form, most likely Katie, but one of our clinical staff will be reviewing those intakes and letting our administrative staff kind of know that they should get the ball rolling. They will reach out to you and send you some of these initial forms. So we have a case history, so we can get all the information about services you may or may not have had, as well as concerns that you have and kind of why you're seeking to do our program. A privacy practice, so that you know your rights in regards to privacy, a consent for services, so we have your permission to do services, a video consent and photo release, as well as a release of information. So if you want us to share your report with other doctors or schools or stuff, you can release that information as well. And then once we have that, we also will get you scheduled to do that initial evaluation for the program. And then once the evaluation, yes?
Can you just say it's chatwithus.org, not com?
Oh, yes. Oh my God. Thank you. I'm going to have to fix that. Oh, oh, sorry. Step 4 is to finalize the appropriate program with the clinical staff. So after you're available, we'll determine, yes, program's a good fit and kind of work to get you officially registered. So that is the end of the official presentation. So we have a bunch of questions that we've received in advance. If I can get out of the slideshow. So we're going to go over those questions, and then if you have additional questions that we haven't gotten to, like I said, feel free to ask those in the Q&A box. So the first question I have here, Katie, I think this is directed towards you. So it asks, my child is just shy of the age criteria for executive function. Could they still participate?
So what I would recommend in that situation is that we still can do an evaluation and kind of see based on the evaluation what their maturity and their language and EF level is, whether we think they might be appropriate for the program. We'll also be able to then look at who else is interested in the group, and if we do have a bunch of like younger 10 and 11-year-olds, then it may be appropriate to group 9.5-year-old with those just slightly older kids. We do just want to make sure that we're not having too big of an age gap, so it's kind of how it was set up. The other thing that we can do is, if they are not appropriate for the group, a lot of the same strategies and intervention that we're providing in group and those activities can also be done through one-on-one services. So that may be an option if they're a little bit on the younger side.
Great. The next question, I think Ciara will have you go with. It says, I live in Texas. Can my child still participate?
Unfortunately, at this time, we can't. And that's because our clinicians are located in Illinois, and there's currently no parity across states for licensure. So it's at the national and state level that we're kind of advocating for, but just based on our licensure, our hands are kind of tied there. But we do have a few licenses in other states, so I encourage you guys to reach out to us and we can kind of let you know what we have available and what we're able to do. And also we offer consultations. So we are happy to talk with you kind of as a parent training, provide you with guidance and support, or even meet with the professionals in your area that you might already be working with and kind of give them some supports and examples of what we'd be doing to see if they can do that, you know, closer to your home.
Great. Sarah, we won't be able to participate for a week in July. Can we still do language to literacy program? Oh, Sarah, you're muted.
Headphones off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
These are tech issues that we run with sometimes, so I'll just take these off for the moment. So that is a question that we have definitely had before. And so as I had mentioned before, just as a general policy with program, because it does have the skills that build on top of each other and it is so key, and there is so much information that we're putting into each class. Every moment just is very like packed with really key information, and it is growing and growing on those skills, that we do ask that program participants would not miss more than 3 sessions, because then you do truly start to lose that benefit of the program itself, and that's really what the aim is, to make sure that we're supporting and kind of having that growth as much as possible. So if we really want to get everything out of program, missing big chunks would really not be beneficial for the students involved. So again, to the extent we can, we will work with families to ensure that some time away from technology doesn't prevent their child from participating. So you can definitely reach out and kind of talk with us through, again, depending on kind of when that sort of time away happens, it might be different at different time periods of program too. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about specifics and we can walk you through it.
Katie, how much caregiver involvement is required during the sessions?
So a lot of it depends on the age and abilities of children. In each of our programs, there will be nightly kind of updates and homework that's beneficial to do with an adult. We also anticipate, as we've seen with teletherapy, that additional supervision is probably going to be more needed at the beginning of the program, just as we start and the kids get used to what program and online learning looks like and their ability to participate and do all the things that we're asking them to do. Specifically with our social communication program for the minimally verbal kids, it's our expectation that those kids will need additional caregiver support beyond what some of our other kids may need. I think it's important for those kids too, as we've worked with them through our schools and in the clinic, that having parents involved and being able to have them see what we're doing and how we're modeling and prompting those kids has been insanely beneficial for their communication and generalization of skills outside of our therapy sessions. So as much as parents can be involved, it's really beneficial. And I say for one of my kids specifically that right now dad is a better therapist for the kid than I am, just because he's right there and has his attention, and then he can model and provide those same prompts that I'm doing in our weekly sessions throughout their week, every time that they're interacting. Also in our EF program, we're really hoping that in the last week we have a day or two of caregivers included in the sessions, like I mentioned, just so that we can really make sure that things are being generalized and carried over to their everyday life, and we can help support parents in facilitating that with the struggles that they're encountering on a day-to-day basis.
Next question we have, Ciara, is someone had an evaluation done last year and they're wondering if they need to have another one.
Yeah, so this is really going to be determined on a case-by-case basis. We really want to gather the most recent and relevant baseline information so that we can make sure to tailor and individualize our approach throughout the summer. You know, a year-old data, there might have been progress made or changes that we would want to know prior to instruction during class. I think, Sarah, like you mentioned earlier, it's also really helpful to assess their computer literacy and computer use skills prior to enrolling in class. So we would hope that, you know, we can do it as soon as possible. And then just something important is that insurance usually covers within, like, after a year. So if it's within the year, you know, we'll definitely work with you to see what we can do that meets both of our needs. But you should be covered for insurance if it's been a year.
And that's within the calendar year. Insurance typically follows on the calendar, so that would be only be an issue that we'd have to work around if they had had an evaluation since January of 2020.
Perfect. And then it is really helpful if you do have that information, really any information, we'd be happy to kind of look over it, make sure that we're not, you know, looking into the same thing that's already recently been looked into, and to make sure that we're adding more information to the profile of your learner.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, like we mentioned, that specific testing protocols that we do for our program. So we do a lot more like phonological awareness testing for language literacy. That's maybe not your typical receptive expressive language test that they maybe have gotten done at school if they're getting services. Likewise, the executive function program has some really specific problem solving and other inferencing language tasks that we're looking into. So they're really specific tests that we're doing, and we want to give the same test across the board because, again, it helps with us grouping our classes. Katie, our next question: my child doesn't have a speech disorder. Can they still do executive function program?
So the short answer is yes. So executive functions, like we mentioned, are kind of a brain-based process and skills that we use that do have some language foundations. So our assessments look a little bit different than your typical speech and language that have that stronger focus on problem-solving skills, inferencing, language flexibility, and things like that. So while they may not have qualified in the school environment, we have some different assessment tools and things that we're going to be looking at specifically for that program that they may be struggling with. The other thing is, if we do find a child that is not demonstrating that underlying language issue, that's where the weekly private pay becomes a great option, that you can kind of identify those areas of most need, and because we're not billing insurance, we don't need to have a diagnosis code or any underlying speech or language issue.
Sarah, if someone says that their child needs to work on literacy skills and executive function skills, how do they kind of decide what to do?
That is a great question. Again, we've definitely had these types of questions before. So in this moment, again, hearing information from you and sharing that with our team about kind of what are your major targets, what are you really looking for your child this summer, and also, again, that evaluation piece is really key in giving us insight on what will be the best recommendation for you and your family. So taking those both into account is going to be very helpful, and just making sure it's, you know, an all-around decision with everyone involved. And also in general, with regards to the executive functioning program, you know, as Katie's mentioned a couple of times, that language piece is important, and it is a piece of executive functioning for sure. So having that strong basis of language skills is very important. And so generally we will often say doing the language to literacy program first is a kind of best practice good step in preparation for that executive functioning program later on. But again, it will be case by case, and we'll take, you know, the full picture of you and your family and that individual when we make that decision all together.
And executive function skills are also worked on in LLP. There's a whole station, the organization station, where we're working on those executive function skills. So just because they're in one or the other doesn't mean that they're not going to also work on those literacy or EF skills. I mean, all of our speech paths are skilled and knowledgeable about all of the curriculum. So we're really going to do what's best for your kiddo, no matter where they end up.
Yeah. Definitely. We've also had some, you know, families talk about like little social language skills, and that's definitely obviously built into any program that involves humans interacting together. So that will definitely be something that will come up in plenty of these as well. So very good point.
This next question, I think Ciara would be good for. It says, I'm confused. Is this speech therapy or is this for reading?
It's both. So literacy really does fall under our scope of practice, and so it's something that we're skilled in working with. I think actually all of us now, in order to get our certification, have to do literacy training in school. So I think that, I mean, literacy is really founded in language, so you need to have language in order to have literacy skills. It's both there. But then also in schools, I mean, most of my schools don't have a reading specialist or reading curriculum. And so that's us. That's who we are in the schools as well, working on literacy when there's no other resources.
All right, we just got a couple left here. So Katie, can my child do program and also get one-on-one therapy at the same time?
So unfortunately, we can't do 2 sessions in one day. We can only see a child for 1 session per day. So if they're doing like program in the morning, we can't do a one-on-one in the afternoon or vice versa. We may be able to work with families to do one-on-ones in the summer, like right before program or after program before school gets started. We also may be able to work with families that are interested in doing like a week of the executive function program, that they could do one-on-ones for the rest of summer, and you know, would love to then continue to see all of these kids after summer is over to continue their work throughout the school year. So definitely reach out and we can talk about what would be best for the family and your schedule.
Yeah, and Ciara, I think you talked about this question a little bit earlier, but just to address it, it says, my child has a very difficult time sitting still. Can they still participate in program?
Yeah, absolutely. So our clinicians will all work with you individually just to be able to best support your child's needs. So, you know, the might be because they're not engaged or because attention is difficult for a number of reasons. And so our clinicians will really work with you as a team to make sure that we're teaching and engaging your student the best that we can. Again, like I said, our online learning classes do incorporate some gross motor and breaks to allow for that movement. And then as speech pathologists, we recognize that movement is sometimes part of the learning process, and that's okay. And we can help to provide you guidance on, you know, what is helpful versus not helpful. And then I think too, we're all just very aware that part of why your kiddo is in this program is for that attention piece. And so that's kind of a goal in program is, you know, sitting and attending so that they can get the best out of the material.
Wonderful. Sarah, I think we talked about this question says, how big are the classes and will my child get individual attention?
Mm-hmm. And so it really depends on the group for classes again, but it can range from, you know, 2 students up to 8 students, and there's always going to be a ratio of at least or of 4 students to 1 SLP at most. So again, you're going to have a small group of students that you know, that 1 SLP will pay kind of specific support and attention to, and family wise. And also, again, there are aides, and there is a very cool function of doing this platform online, and that you can use these breakout rooms where you actually separate from the rest of the group to have a more private check-in, whether that's one-on-one or whether that's in a small group. So it really does give you a nice way to kind of individualize and specialize as needed, and as often as you do need. That's a pretty nice kind of part of doing this online, and that's definitely something that we'll use in program.
And Ciara, it says my child can read, but they struggle with other skills you mentioned. So can they still, or what program can they do? So.
Yeah, so that's really part of the assessment process, and talking with you is that we'll kind of assess and see the greatest area of needs. Our LLP, our language literacy program, really targets more than just decoding. Like we've said a couple of times, it's the attention, it's the listening, it's memory, it's comprehension. It's so much more than just the decoding and reading piece. And then if they're older, you know, and we're seeing that they're kind of meeting all of the targets of LLP, then we can recommend them for EF if that's something that you're interested in, that we are seeing a need for. And then they're also able to kind of work on some social skills in any of those programs. So I have one of my students is a strong reader, but really struggles with learning within a group. And so I'm recommending that he participate in group to really focus on that pragmatic piece. And I think it's going to be hugely beneficial for him. So you could really participate in any of our age-appropriate programs.
Great. And so one question we received a moment ago too was about do all kids improve by the end of program? So I can definitely say we always see a lot of progress in our programs. EF, as I warned, is brand new, so I don't have specific data on that, so I can't promise anything. Though I do feel very strongly that our curriculum is really good. I'm very excited about it. The language literacy and the LEAP program have been running for a long time. So we've been doing these programs since 2012, and they actually started in Buffalo, New York, Buffalo Speech and Hearing Center, and then they had been doing them for about 10 years or so before we had started. So they've been going on for a while, and we always kind of collect the whole group data at the end because we do these pre and post reports, and we always see really great growth. We always are seeing, you know, growth in these phonological awareness skills, but I think the biggest piece is the attention, listening, and memory skills. And my favorite thing that I hear that people see a change in is confidence. And I think that's something I hear time and time again is kids feel more confident after this program because they just feel like they kind of at least have the tools to access their work. So the self-advocacy thing is something that I don't think gets explicitly taught a lot of times in school. It's not technically part of the curriculum, but teaching kids how to be self-advocates can really be life-changing in their academic world because they feel like they now have the means to access. And so I think, you know, giving kids a voice, it's really what we're kind of about. And so I think it's one of the things that I love about programs so much. And so I'd say really consistently, we are seeing some really great growth in kids that participate in program, and it's one of the things I get so excited about them. And then this last question was about charging for getting assessed. So the evaluation can go through insurance, as we mentioned before. There is a private pay rate, which I'm blanking on the exact costs, 300 something, but again, that can also fall under scholarship. So if it's something that you're wanting to access, please, you know, we can always do a scholarship and figure out a rate that works for you and your family. And to wrap us up here, I'm going to have Kareen join us to say a few words. She's our executive director, and so she'll be joining us in 1 second. There she is.
Hey everybody. I know we're a little bit over time, and I have a little bit of chaos in my own home as we have a new rescue dog and we have an 8th grade in a parking lot graduation today. But I just wanted to speak as a mom, as not an SLP, because I have a different professional background, to say that I really think this year more than ever the gap and the learning gap has just been exacerbated by all of the challenges. I have 4 kids at home, and the differences that I've seen in their ability to attend and focus is pretty extraordinary. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to help anybody who's on this webinar and who feels excited that we might be able to help their child. I just want to emphasize the message: cost will not keep your child from doing program this summer. Appropriateness for program could. And for example, I have several children that are appropriate for executive function, but not for our other programming. And so I'm really excited that they'll be able to participate in at least a week of program this year. But I did just want to highlight, if you're interested, if you think that we can help you help your child this summer, if you're exhausted from having to be teacher and maybe have another job and everything else that you've been doing, let us help, because it's not glorified babysitting. It's really substantive advancement of skills that will help your child succeed in life. And there's really, no price for that. Was the main thing that I wanted to say. And I just wanted to thank this team for putting this together and answering the questions that we've received. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope that we can help your family this summer. Thanks so much.